this is one of my favorite topics because I had to learn how to be my own best friend. No one ever taught me, and no one ever taught you. We're always taught to think of other people first, to put everybody else before our own needs. And I remember how frightened I was when I got divorced in the 70s and realized that I had really never done things for myself. It was always for my children, for my husband, for my parents. And I had to learn. I had to learn. I had to ask myself questions, which, we'll go through today. But I'm curious to know what brought you all here. What made you decide to?
I just stumbled on this, and I decided.
What about the topic interested you?
I said yes, stay. When I saw the topic,
What do you want to get out of it?
The most I can to be my own best friend.
Great. Okay, what brought you here today?
Actually, to get, I don't know, get a drink. It just happened to be.
Anything about the topic intrigue you or curious?
No.
Tap into your curiosity. Okay. Well, hopefully you'll come away with a lot more than you expected. That's my goal. And what brought you here today?
I think I read that book. Well, it was a book.
Yes.
Years and years ago, I read it a long time ago. And I do need to take care of myself because I take care of everyone else, like you say.
Yep.
And I'm at the bottom of the list. And if I can have
It's always like that.
45 minutes to go to yoga, which I went on Monday, I hadn't been in like 3 weeks, and I noticed a difference right away. I slept better. I was calmer.
Beautiful.
And I walk every
So
day.
you're talking about some of the benefits that we gain from doing things that make us happy. Very rarely do we think about, what could I do today? I ask myself this every day. What could I do today to make me happy? So let's find out. Thank you. What brought you here? What was
My wife had told me about it, and I've come to other seminars here that were positive. And I have post-traumatic stress from the service. I was drafted from 70 to 72. In the VA, I had a counselor in 2017. She retired. They didn't replace her. I had group therapy, 219. That guy left. They didn't replace him. We were meeting on our own, struggling with some out-of-VA network groups to try and help each other. But it's very difficult, and especially with the COVID, and being older, afraid to meet with friends.
perfect?
And even my phone book, a lot of friends are past. I'm 71.
That's a perfect answer
That's true.
because I wrote this course quite a long time ago, but I've changed it up to be in alignment with the times. COVID had a huge impact on our lives, and I'm a very outgoing person. So when I first wrote the course, that's in the 70s, I was learning how to be my best friend, my own best friend, not to rely on a husband, which I didn't have anymore, not to rely on my children to give me happiness. And as we get older, we start to notice that we are relying on our children or our friends or our sisters and brothers. And I wanted this course to be about coming out of hiding, which is what most of us were doing during COVID. And most of us do that pretty much regularly all the time. We do hide. The bottom line, I remember when I took a course in 1980, and it was a weekend seminar called The Forum. And one of the things that I learned, which shocked me, is that people are afraid of each other. I didn't know that. I just thought I was the one that was afraid of people. I didn't realize that other people were afraid of me. It's like, why? could they be afraid of me? I'm so nice. Yeah, so I learned that we are afraid of each other. And the pandemic enhanced that, magnified that. You know, we wear masks, we stay away from each other, we're afraid of getting sick, we're afraid of this, we're afraid of that. So hopefully this course will give you some tools. And I try to do that with all my courses. And I want people to leave my class with more tools than they had before that they could practice. Yes.
Another point I wanted to bring out is the political in this country. I have friends I've known for 40 years and I don't feel comfortable calling them. And
It's another way of separating us.
Yeah, I've seen
Absolutely
so much
correct.
hatred and
Violence.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. And like I say, people I've known for 40 years I feel uncomfortable calling.
Right.
And I was a Green Party person, which is, there is almost no Green Party. But years ago, if you voted for Kennedy, I voted for Nixon, we still helped each other. It's
Right.
so,
Right.
very,
Yeah, so we have a lot of, thank you for bringing that up. So we have a lot of issues that separate us from each other. Not only are we afraid of each other emotionally, but now we're afraid of each other physically as well. So we have politics that separate us. We have so many families that I deal with, because I'm a health coach. So many families that I deal with where the mother is not talking to the son, the daughter is not talking to the father, the sisters and brothers are not talking to each other. It's like, whoa, you know, that's not good. That's another reason why we're separate from each other. I made a decision when I started learning about family problems that people have, that no matter what happens in my family, I will have the courage to face it, to confront it, to resolve it and let it go, and never hold a grudge. Because guess what? The person who holds a grudge is the person that really gets sick from it. It's not the other person. It's like you smoking a cigarette and expecting somebody else to get cancer. No. We're the ones that are affected by the grudge or the resentment that we're carrying. So let's take a look deeper. So I handed you out a flyer. Did you all get one? Yeah, please take one.
Thank you.
And it's right there.
Right.
And so I wanted to go over this with you so that you get to see some of the tips that you could take home and hopefully start practicing. We spend a lifetime putting others before ourselves, and I call that selfless, but other people call it good. We get rewarded for taking care of other people before ourselves. And if you take care of yourself first, which I recommend, then people will call you selfish. So you can't take care of somebody else if you have an empty bank account. You can't give other people money if you're broke. If your soul is broken because you've not been used to taking care of yourself, and you start taking care of yourself that as a self-loving act, then other people who are not used to that will give you a label, call you selfish. We disappear into those we love, entangling ourselves in their happiness and unhappiness, and I see this all the time. We rise to the occasion for him or her or them, and yet somehow we never rise to the occasion for ourselves. We are often our worst critic. Our thoughts is what makes us unhappy. It's not what other people do or say. It's what we say to ourselves about what they did or what we did. We become our own worst enemy by not managing our thinking. When we're self-loving, as I said earlier, we're interpreted as being selfish. And society punishes us. It's like if somebody invites you to a party and it doesn't feel like something that you really want to do, and you ask yourself, do I really want to do that? And you say, no, I don't. I don't like the hostess. I don't like the type of people that are going to be there. But yet, because we don't want to be labeled, we go anyway, just to be nice. And we do a lot of things to make other people happy, and just to be nice. And yet we are miserable going there, and we're miserable while we're there.
And we're miserable after.
Yeah, so we have to start asking ourselves, do I really want to go? Do I really want to do that? What can I do for myself today to make me feel good? We never ask ourselves that. I got used to doing that because I'm teaching the course, so I'm aware of it all the time. But the other day I was very depressed about just everything that's going on in the world. What's going on in Europe, what's going on. I have family in Israel. My son and daughter-in-law and grandchildren are in Israel, and I worry about them. I have grandchildren in New York and Long Island. I worry about them. I have 2 girls, 2 daughters here in New York, and I'm just worrying about everybody for every reason you can think of. And I was feeling really scared and down. So I know myself, and I know, okay, what can I do for you today, Shelley, that will make you feel appreciated, loved, and happier than you are right now? So for me, it was a manicure and pedicure. I love to be pampered, and so I called up my manicurist and I said, do you have any time today? I really need it. So I went, and not only did I have a manicure and a pedicure, but I also had them do a little extra neck massages and back massages on their chair, and also extra foot massages. I was so happy when I left there. That was such a nice thing for me to do for myself. So I want you to think like that. Now, what are the importance of being your own best friend? Number 1, you get to know yourself. You get to know what you like and what you don't like. You get to know what makes you happy and what makes you sad. You get to know what to do for yourself to shift your moods. You become your own cheerleader. So if somebody is not very nice to you and you don't feel that they're justified in doing that, you know yourself well enough to know that's their opinion. I don't have to buy that. That may not necessarily be the truth. So I am my own cheerleader, because I think it was in the Bible that said, if I am not for myself, then who am I for? You become more gentle with yourself and less critical. And that's something we're not trained to do. You know, I think about you in the military, because my grandson in Israel, all 3 of my grandchildren have to go through the Israeli army. My youngest grandson is now just started. And being in the military is, you know, whatever country you're in, is very difficult, because you're being trained to stop thinking for yourself and to stop thinking about yourself. You're being trained to really defend a country, to defend other people on your team. And it's almost like desensitizing you. You get desensitized to feelings. And so it's hard to learn to continue being gentle with yourself when you're trained to be the opposite. And I know from teaching these classes, I've had so many clients who are the type A personalities that are never happy unless they're doing something more. They're never satisfied with their results. They always believe that they can be more, do more, have more. And it's a lot of pressure. So they're not taking care of themselves and not gentle with themselves. They're more critical. The other one is you want to love and respect yourself. And it takes time to learn what that is. And so we'll find out what that is. So why don't you answer a question for me? What is a best friend? What does a best friend mean to you? Like think of the people in your life that you consider best friends or good friends. Why? What are they? What is it about them that earns them the title of being your best friend?
You can share good times and bad.
So you share good times and bad. Yep. What else?
They're good listeners.
They good listeners. Absolutely.
I think they're honest and you can trust them.
Yes, they'll tell you the truth even if it's not something you want to hear. You could trust them. What else? What else is a best friend to you? What makes that person
They gotta
so
live,
special?
live as long as I do.
Say that again?
That's very true, yes.
They're all dead.
I know, isn't that sad? I know, because I walk every day, and one lady that I used to visit every day and have tea with her, she's 91 and she's in Park Manor, the rehab place, and she keeps thinking she's coming home. I called her before she came here, but her family's trying to get her into assisted living.
Yeah, so the reason that she would be your best friend is, let's get more specific.
Who?
Yeah, who would be your best friend? Like, what are the qualities of a best friend?
Someone I know a long, long time.
Someone you know a long time.
And we lived near me, and we hung out together all our lives, teenagers.
So you hung out together, so it's a history.
Married, yeah.
So your best friend for you is someone that knows you well, knows you long time, and where you have a history.
Part of my history.
That's been in the ups and downs with you. That's been the good times and the bad
That's
times.
someone I just met a year or two ago.
Okay, so history is an important part of having a best friend. What else? What's a best friend to mean to you? Like why? Think about your friends. Yes.
I have one friend that shares a lot of the same values I do, and I feel very comfortable talking to him because he doesn't criticize me.
Perfect.
And
So you have the same values. You don't criticize each other. You listen to each other when you have something to say, and you have something in common.
Yeah, and also I'm very heavy involved environmentally, and he also is. So there's a lot of things to share that the average person doesn't know.
Right.
Unless you
Right.
study
So you have something in common that you both put energy into. All right, great. So think about all those things that we just said. The reason we have best friends is to love and respect, because we love and respect them. We have something in common. Think about how it is for you. If you treat yourself as your best friend, you have the same attitude about yourself as you would your best friend. You're in training. This is interesting. The way you treat yourself, now this is really important. The way you treat yourself is the way other people will treat you. You're actually in training so that you can teach other people how to treat you. So if you don't have respect for yourself, the people in your life are going to treat you the same way. You learn the importance of being your own best friend is so you could appreciate your moments of solitude. Some people are afraid of their solitude. I used to be afraid of being alone. To me, it was being alone is lonely, and being alone could be solitude, depending on your point of view about it. So there's a joy in choosing to be alone compared to being alone when you don't want to. So it's something to differentiate and to be aware of. I did something, I think I started, let me see, 1990? Yeah, one of the things that I always wanted to do, but I was afraid to do it by myself because I'd never done it before. So I wanted to travel cross country by myself in the car. And I had never done that before, and it's like scary to be out on the open road and know how to get to the places that I wanted to go. I went from New York to California by myself. And I did it because I was terrified to do it. And I wrote a book about it. I should have brought the book with me. Yeah, the book is called The Road Trip Goddess, and you could get it on Amazon. And it was such an incredible experience because I really got to know myself. I spent the whole time in solitude. I got to listen to my thoughts. I got to work out problems in my mind. I got to ask myself, what do you want to do today? Like, where do you want to stay? What city do you want to visit? It's like, this was so foreign to me. And before I went, I had to plan the trip. Like, how do you get there? Like, you can't just open up a map and go. And I didn't know anybody else that ever did this by themselves, especially a woman my age. So I was probably 60, 65 when I started to do it, and my family thought I was insane. You know, my friends wanted me to carry a rifle with me or a gun. But I decided I'm going to do it. So I did the planning. I didn't know what kind of clothes to take because I was going from one climate to another climate. So I had to take summer clothes, winter clothes,
In between.
coats, jackets. I mean, it was, what an experience that was. And what was so amazing is that I got to know myself better than I ever could have done because I was on the road for 2 weeks. I decided to really take a long time and just do it. I didn't know how much money I should take with me. I mean, I didn't know anything. And I did a lot of research. And it was the most exciting trip, I mean, the most exciting thing I have ever done. So,
Sounds like it. I'd like to read the book.
yeah, you can get it on Amazon. It's called the Goddess Road Trip Manual. And so let's see. So that's where I learned the benefits of solitude as opposed to being lonely. I didn't feel lonely at all because there were people around me anytime I wanted to talk to somebody. So I was able to make very much better decisions because I had learned to be my own best friend. And decisions like I had a flat tire, I had a blowout, and my first reaction was like to cry. I didn't know what to do. And so at that time when I did it, there were no cell phones. I had a CB radio. So I did investigation ahead of time to say, okay, how can I communicate to people if there's no phone? So I bought a CB radio and I was able to communicate with some of the truckers that were going back and forth from coast to coast. And I asked for help. And I said, and then, you know, and it was during the day because I made a promise that I would only travel during the day. And a couple of truckers, 18-wheelers, stopped. Some of them had their kids with them. Some of them had a wife with them. And they helped me. They helped me. I didn't even know where the spare was. I mean, that's how ignorant I was. They helped me empty the truck. I had a pickup truck at that time with a camper shell on it. And I slept in it. That's what I slept in on campgrounds. I mean, I really wanted to do it all the way. So they helped me change the flat along the way. State troopers stopped and I had to go into town to buy a new tire because the tire was ruined. So I learned how to make better decisions from that experience. To become your own best friend, you want to be able to stand up for yourself under pressure. And when you know yourself, you can do that. if you've used to doing things all your life for other people, you can't handle the pressure of other people telling you what to do when you know in your heart it's wrong. You can comfortably follow your passions, and we'll talk about that. You become independent and less dependent on others, and you have more honest relationships. So you are becoming not only your own best friend, but you're becoming the best friend of other people. Because all these qualities, remember, you're training other people to treat you a certain way. And all these wonderful qualities that you're building will attract people like that. So I found that the stronger I became within myself, the healthier and happier people I attracted. I no longer attracted people that had my weaknesses. I attracted people that had my strengths. Okay, so let's take a look. So we have here, let's see. I'm going to go back to the beginning. Okay. Okay, so the intention of this session is to strengthen your relationship with yourself. Remember, when people say things and do things that are not nice, it's not about you. It's about them. They're not being nice because they're not feeling very good about themselves. So it's not personal. However they treat you that made you unhappy, they're doing that to other people as well. So remember that. And don't take it personally. It's not you, it's them. Feel confident to live life your way. That's one of the benefits of becoming your own best friend. You can make choices that make you happy. Build an inner support system, and then we'll go over what that means. You'll be building an inner support system so that when you are feeling weak or vulnerable or scared or unhappy, you have tools. You have inner tools that you can use to help you. You can change the way you talk to yourself. If you make a mistake, think about it. How do you talk to yourself when you make a mistake? Do you say, oh well, I'm human, I made a mistake, I did the best I could? Or do you beat yourself up? A lot of people, I vacillate. Depends on the mood I'm in. If I'm not aware of what I'm doing, then I would beat myself up and not be kind and gentle to myself. I want you to imagine how you would treat your best friend if they made a mistake. Probably much more kindly than you would treat yourself. And so these are important lessons to remember, and hopefully you'll remember my voice at some point when you confront one of these issues and you'll hear Shelley saying, oh well, be kind to yourself. You can develop an outer support system as well as an inner support system. That means people that you could go to who love and respect you. And sometimes you have to clean out the debris of unhealthy people. Do a inner house cleaning, outer house cleaning, to allow space for the good, healthy, happy people to come towards you. If you have a cluttered house, there's no room to bring in beautiful, loving people, beautiful, loving things. Important that you change the way you talk to yourself. Okay, another intention of this session is you're going to spend more time with yourself. Not because you have to, but because you choose to. Like, what do I feel like doing today? Great, I want to go take a walk by a lake. Or, I want to go get a haircut. Or, I feel like having Chinese food. I'm going to go get some Chinese food. We're going to be also learning about the importance of friends and the release of a brain chemical called oxytocin. That's an important lesson. I'll be reading a study to you about how oxytocin is released when you're around people that care about you, and how it's suppressed when you're around people that you have to fight with or argue with. So I personally, I've cleaned house. I don't have people in my life that make me unhappy. I don't have people in my life that argue with me. I don't want to deal with that. Our energy is limited. Our lifespan is short. We need to fill it with good, healthy, loving people. We'll look at the benefits of laughter, and that's an important part of staying healthy. And the benefits of gratitude. Every night before I go to sleep, I make a list. I have a gratitude journal. I make a list of what am I grateful for, even on those days that I feel like nothing's working. I make a list of what am I grateful for, even if it's something like, oh good, I have a watch that's working, or I had my nails done. Even superficial, silly things.
I got a new pair of shoes.
And when you start a list like that, it opens up a pathway in your brain where you focus on the positive. You focus on what you're grateful for. You're grateful. I'm grateful that you all came here today. I'm grateful that I'm getting to know some new people. Okay, so what we learned from you is that a best friend knows you well. They know you for as long as you've been alive, that you have a history with them, and they love you unconditionally. They love you even though they know your quirks, your idiosyncrasies. They don't try to change you. They just accept you for who you are. And they're honest with you. They tell you things that you may not want to hear, but because of their love for you, they will tell you everything, the truth. And remember, their truth is their truth, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the truth. They allow you to be you. They don't try to change you. And they love being with you. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. When I was living out of town for many years, away from New York, I just wanted to explore the 4 quadrants of the United States. I wanted to see what it would be like to live in different cultures. Because I had always lived in New York. I had always lived among the same religious faith. And I wanted to see, what it was like to have other people who were different from me, to see what it was like, to see what they were like. I was always around white people. I was always around Jewish people. And we all thought the same way, we looked the same way, but I wanted to be around Asian people, Native American, Hispanic, just people that were so different from me. And people are people. There are good people in every culture, and then there are unhealthy people in the same cultures. So we can't generalize. But one thing I did learn is to be with people that really care about you. You could feel when they love you. You could feel when there's an energy, when they don't like you, then don't be around them. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Any questions so far? Any comments? Yes?
A lot of times with low self-esteem that I have, I would find myself being with people that I really didn't want to be with, but I felt it was better than with just being with me.
That's a really great point. All of us sometimes will choose to be with someone or a group rather than to be alone, because loneliness is not a healthy state. But we could change the word loneliness to being in solitude, and fill that time with things that make you happy. I mean, TV programs that make you happy, books that make you happy, research, like you said that you do a lot of research on the environment. There's a lot of things that we can do in our solitude.
And nature.
Yeah, nature.
I love
Nature.
nature.
But when you're feeling lonely, it's like you're stuck. You're stuck in a situation and you feel helpless. Solitude is more a choice. So what is a best friend? It's someone you could rely on. Again, we're learning how to do this for ourselves. Who celebrates life events with you. And let me give you an example. When I first got divorced, I was really worried that I would be having birthdays every year and nobody would be celebrating with me. I wouldn't have anybody to celebrate with. And I started feeling really sad and very sorry for myself. So I decided to be my own best friend. I said, what would a best friend do for me? They would make me a party. So I'm making myself a party. So I made myself a birthday party from in my 30s. Like I think I was 37 when I got divorced. And so I made myself a birthday party and invited everybody I knew. And I started doing that every year. So I celebrate my birthday every year. I make myself a birthday party. So one year, I was in San Diego. I lived in San Diego. I had just moved there before my birthday, and I didn't know anybody. I said, how am I going to invite people when I don't know anybody in this city or state? So I decided I'm going to have the party anyway, and I'm going to invite anybody that I meet at the supermarket. I'm going to invite people that do my dry cleaning, the people that fix my shoes, the one that sold me or does my hair. I had the best party ever. I made all these new friends. I had about 50 people at this birthday party, and I didn't know any of them. So,
Sometimes that's the best, like you go to a wedding or something.
oh, it's
and you don't know
beautiful.
anybody,
Yes.
And before you leave, you're friends with everyone at the table.
So, you being your own best friend, you can celebrate your life events and be the perpetrator of the event. You don't have to wait for someone else to do it for you.
I'm gonna start planning my birthday now.
You want a best friend is somebody that stays in touch regularly. So you could do that for yourself. You want to ask yourself, how do I feel today? And whatever that answer is, like, what could I do today to help you feel better? And you're talking to yourself. What could you do? What could I do today to help me feel better?
Make a chocolate cake with chocolate icing.
Chocolate? Oh, that's a good one.
Chocolate cake with chocolate icing.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's a good one. Say it again.
Chocolate cake with chocolate icing.
Chocolate cake with chocolate icing. I love that. So, you want a best friend is somebody that makes you laugh. So, how many times have you done things that were so silly and that you laughed at yourself?
Oh, I have a good one.
Tell me.
Not last year, the year before, I dressed up in a tiger suit. So I had like tiger pajamas with the hood and the ears. And I made cookies. And I had a tiger bag. And I went trick-or-treating to my neighbors.
Yeah.
But instead of getting a treat, I had cookies I made for...
Oh, that's
You're not
wonderful.
cool.
Was it on Halloween or no?
Yeah, it was the real Halloween. And
What a great
my
idea.
My neighbors loved it. They were so happy.
Now think of that. So you did something outside the box
Right.
that was unusual for you.
And I just went to my favorite neighbors, maybe like 6.
And you did something to take care of yourself, to make yourself happy.
And they all loved it. They
And
thought it was great.
You made other people happy. So that's very cool. So you're staying in touch with what makes you happy, what makes you laugh. And a best friend is somebody that respects you. And so that's what we're learning to do today. Why should you become your own best friend? Because sometimes when you depend on other people, they disappoint you. Because they're not here to make you happy. Really, really get that. They are not here to make you happy. You are here to make you happy. You can't depend on other people because circumstances change. They have to take care of themselves, and sometimes in taking care of themselves, they could disappoint you. Why else should you become your own best friend? Because plans change. How many times have you had plans with friends or family and they changed the plans? I made a point for myself that if I have plans with somebody and they change their mind, I'm going anyway.
Good idea.
How many people very rarely do that? They very rarely do that. So it's very important, if plans change, that you keep doing it, because you're doing it for you, not for the other person. Why should you become your own best friend? Because you could lower your expectations of other people. Sometimes communications break down. Not everybody can communicate well what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And so it's important, if you love and respect yourself, you could say to somebody, for example, if somebody didn't return your phone call, it's very easy to think, oh, they didn't return my phone call because they don't want to be my friend anymore, because you've called a few times and they didn't return your call. But that's an expectation that you had of them. If you have good self-esteem, you could find another way to communicate with them and say, did I do something that offended you? And find out what's really happened. So you have, not only your expectations have changed, but also the communications that broke down are no longer broken down. Another reason to be your own best friend is that you don't become dependent on somebody else. I know people that will never go any place without somebody else. And I noticed that particularly when I was learning how to do things on my own after my divorce. I had never gone to a concert by myself. I had never gone on a picnic by myself. I had never gone to a restaurant by myself. I had never gone to the movies by myself. And I kept looking at, it's like, I want to see that movie and I can't get anybody to go with me. So does that mean I won't see that movie?
It means they don't have
No.
a movie theater.
Say it again?
It means they don't have a movie theater in your town.
Maybe.
Like up here.
So I decided to do all those things that I never did before by myself, to become my own best friend. So the first time I did the movie thing, I was very upset. I looked around, I saw people with people, and I was alone. I saw couples, and I was alone. I saw families, and I was alone. And I said, I'm going to do it anyway. And I did it over and over again, time and time again. I would go to the movies again, and I would cry less this time.
And that would get easier for you.
It definitely got easier. Then I would go to a restaurant by myself, and that was scary to have the waiters say, how many in your party? And I said, 1. And they said, 1? And it was like, oh God, now everybody knows I'm by myself. But again, I did it over and over and over again. And now I have no problem going to a restaurant by myself. And I still notice that very, very, very few people go to a restaurant by themselves. Or if they do,
They have a book with
they're
them.
reading a book. They're not even paying attention to the people around them. They're using their cell phones. They're texting. Absolutely. I see that when people are together.
Oh yeah.
I see
It's
couples
terrible.
sitting opposite each other.
They're
not even
They
relating
don't talk, they're just
to
on
each
their
other.
phones.
We had a veterans meeting a couple of weeks ago, and these are just vets for vets, not a VA, just, you know. But the one guy had 2 phones going
Oh my
the
God.
whole meeting. The other guy had 1,
It's
and
awful.
wow, yeah. I'm a minimalist. I don't have a cell phone or computer or anything. I have
So-
a landline phone, that's all.
Wow. So how many people here have go to a restaurant by themselves? Raise your hand. Okay. And did you start going by yourself? But what made you do it?
I was alone.
Okay, so it was
You were
either go
alone
to
or you were hungry. I'd go with
It
you.
doesn't
You
bother
too.
me. Doesn't bother me.
it was either
It
go to a
feels
restaurant
good.
by yourself and eat the food that you like, or stay
I don't
home.
think twice about it whether somebody's with me or not. I wanna eat and go.
Good for you. So how many people here have ever been to a movie by themselves? Awesome.
Plenty.
Okay.
I remember.
No.
So how many people have ever traveled by themselves with nobody? So beautiful, beautiful. So very often,
Oh, yeah, I have. I've been to
Okay.
visit my friend in Colorado and my uncle
so
in
what
Texas.
happens very often, if we are forced to live alone, we're kind of forced to do things alone. But I have several friends who are married, and neither one, the husband or the wife, ever have done anything by themselves. They have never made a decision for themselves about anything. It's always, I have to consult him, her, and that's odd to me, but it works for them. But I could never do that. Even in a relationship, I have to have my own ability to make a decision that affects only me. Sometimes I don't want somebody else's input. So that's something very important. When I notice that when people are, even who have best friends, who are single or divorced or widowed, who live by themselves but have best friends, they don't go anywhere without them. That's dependency. And we don't want that. We want to be able to have courage to go do things on our own, because then there are secrets within us that we're not tapping into. There are desires within us that we're not tapping into because we never get a chance to do things on our own. And then also another reason to be your own best friend is they can manage fears from the past or manage fears from the future. I mean, when I did my cross-country trip, that was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And I've done subsequent trips since then,
By
from
yourself?
New York to Arizona, from Arizona to Florida. I've gone to Colorado, driven all by myself.
You
and it
drove
was-
there yourself?
That's
All by
wonderful.
yourself?
And it gets easier to remember. It gets easier and easier and easier each time you do something that you're afraid of. I teach people, don't let your fears determine the direction of your life. If you're afraid of something, of course you don't want to do something that's going to harm you. But if you're afraid of something and it's not going to harm you, then do it. What are you waiting for? If you're afraid to travel by yourself, then do a trip. If you're afraid to drive by yourself, do a couple of hours the first time. You don't have to do like what I did, a cross-country trip, which is, huge. But, I mean, when I moved here, I actually I was living in Florida. I drove from Florida to Orlando to get on the auto train, and I had never done that before. You put the car in the train, and then you stay overnight on the train. Then when you get off the train, they bring you back your car. So it was during the pandemic that I did this.
Wow.
And so it was scary. It was very scary to do all that. But I did it. I did it. So it's very important to get in touch with, what am I afraid of? What do I really want to do that I have never done that's going to give me courage and self-esteem and self-worth? All these things that you do that you're afraid of give you self-worth, another level of self-worth. So let's take a look at the inner support system. What do I mean by that? It means you could schedule your own sleep and wake time to make sure you're getting enough sleep. You want to drink 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. You want to exercise every day. You want to make sure you're doing something every day to move your body and not be a couch potato. You want to eat more fresh vegetables and frozen vegetables. You want to eat as many organic as you can, because organic is better than the ones with the chemicals. You want to cut back on eating white flour and white sugar. Eat more organic foods. Cut cut back on anything in a box or a can that has a lot of long definitions in it, a lot of long ingredients that are chemicals, and you want to add some aromatherapy for your health. Those are little bottles of essential oils because they have emotional and physical changes that happen when you breathe them in. So you could look that up on the internet. Now, what is aromatherapy? They're fragrances that come from plants. They come from shrubs, roots, bushes, and seeds. And it's made up of hundreds of different natural chemicals that create therapeutic effect. And if you are a Bible reading person, the Bible contains over 200 references to essential oils. So you have things like lavender and rose and vetiver, ylang ylang, frankincense, etc. Peace and calming, stress away. There's one called joy. It's a bunch of different things. Okay, and then we have what happens when you use an essential oil. When you smell it, your whole olfactory system, which is your nasal passages, it sends signals to the brain. It supports your immune system. It helps improve sleep. It helps you relax, concentrate, unwind, and build courage. They're antiviral. They're antifungal, antibacterial. Like I live in an apartment complex, so I use a public laundromat. So I use an essential oil called tea tree oil because it's antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial. I put that into my wash so that it kills everything that's in the water and anything that's left over from somebody else.
How much in a wash load?
I usually put a couple of drops,
Okay.
just a couple of drops. The essential oils can support your respiratory system, improve your skin and hair, and you could diffuse it, put it in a diffuser, you could breathe in it. I have my diffuser going on every night. So in my bedroom I have lavender, breathing it in, and has some really wonderful benefits.
My daughter's in a room with that.
Oh, that's great.
She's licensed.
Excellent. So the way we build self-worth is you get out of your comfort zone, take a risk, do something new and different, take a class, begin a new hobby. Okay, you list
Nice
your
being
strengths and weaknesses. You're being recorded, so be careful.
Oh, okay.
You want to spend time alone, some quality time alone exploring. I call myself a wanderer. I love wandering. Sometimes I get into the car, I don't know where I'm gonna go, and I just go. And sometimes I'll go to Monticello, sometimes I'll go to South Fallsburg, sometimes I just drive into an unknown area that I've never been to before. So it's really fun. That's how I
like
choose
fun.
solitude. And sometimes I'll look up, okay, so where is the next hiking trail in this marble town that I've never been to? Or, different things. So that's how you want to explore. You want to create your daily gratitude journal. You want to build your inner support system with all the foods and drinks and walks and exercises. Build your outer support system, which meaning friends that make you happy, friends that make you feel good about yourself, friends that you have something in common with, and avoid people where you dread seeing them and dread being with them. It's like, no, you have the right to say no. I'm sorry, but I'm busy. Call or visit somebody who's alone. That's a wonderful thing for you to do. And you want to reward yourself often for doing something that you never did before. So, for example, one of the things that I did whenever I go to the dentist, because I'm terrified of the dentist, and I've had so many teeth extracted, so I make a promise to myself that after the dentist I'm going to go buy myself a new shirt. You can get a makeover. We'll get to your questions in a few minutes. I just want to make sure I get to all this. I set the table for 2 every night as if I'm expecting a guest. Have dinner by candlelight, by yourself, write yourself a love letter every month. Leave a love note on someone else's car window. Just arbitrarily saying, did anybody tell you today that you're special? I do that periodically. Okay, so don't take it personally. If someone doesn't return your call, it's not about you, it's about them. If someone is offensive to you, I said that earlier, don't take it personally. If someone doesn't invite you to something, don't take it personally. If they're abrupt or rude, it's nothing about you, it's about them. If they don't have time for you, find people that have time for you. If they react to something you did or said, and they don't want to have a communication about it, time to find another friend. You want to ask for what you want. Order something cooked your way. Send food back if something is wrong. Oops, I taught my kids that. Oops, let's see. I taught my kids that when they were very young in restaurants. If something isn't cooked the way they want, let's send it back. Call or write it, issue a complaint or a compliment to a store or a company. I love doing that. Acknowledge a waiter or a waitress to their boss. Write a review about a product or service. Okay. I want to make sure that we end on time and I covered everything. So your outer support system are your friends and family who love and respect you and who you look forward to seeing. A spiritual or personal development group, like a church or a spiritual group, an exercise class, a dance class, a qigong class, books, podcasts, videos that empower you. That's my go-to. Whenever I'm feeling down and I can't leave the house, I go on YouTube and I put in one of the people that I admire who's always doing pep talks, like Tony Robbins or John Assaraf. Find like-minded colleagues, coworkers, and friends. Oxytocin is the love hormone, and when you spend time with friends that love you and care about you, you're releasing this wonderful hormone. Laughter is the best medicine. Watch funny movies, read a funny book, watch Just for Laughs, which is on YouTube every night, hysterical. Watch videos about puppies and babies, or last night I was watching The Mysteries of Abandoned Cities. On the History Channel. What an interesting program. It's like a series. Mysteries of the, like, buildings and hotels that were abandoned in different countries. Fabulous. Be with people who love to laugh, not the people that are making us sad and complaining all the time. Okay. Play music and dance. You're gonna make sure you enjoy the holidays. Have people around you that you love, that love you. Watch your favorite movies. Eat your favorite foods. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, today is a new day. You have control over your thoughts and your feelings and your experiences. Be with people who you love and who love you.